Hey everyone, hi. Okay, let me just share my screen once. If you can see my screen and you can hear me, can anyone just give me a plus sign? You can add it in the chat section. Okay, let me see if anyone has added the plus sign. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Fine. Okay. Hey everyone, thank you for joining this session. And my name is Megha Kadur, and I'm working as a senior software engineer. So, first of all, today's session is all about kickstart your career in DevOps. Okay, this topic is actually very close to my heart. The reason is that I'm coming from a non IT background. So, I have done ECE and I'm coming from that background. And when I started learning about DevOps and what are DevOps concepts and many things, I was able to understand those things and I landed a job in DevOps domain. It's really fascinating for me when I started learning these things. Equally, it was tough also because everything was new to me that time. But DevOps has given me a boost to my career, I can say that. So I just want to share my journey on how I got introduced to DevOps through this Geeks for Geeks session that I will be giving. And thanks to Geeks for Geeks for allowing me to give this opportunity. So let's begin. Okay, so in today's session, we will be talking about background. I'll talk about my background, then what is DevOps, even why DevOps came into existence. Then we'll talk about DevOps workflow. We'll talk about DevOps skill set, DevOps concept, and what were the problems, or you can say what were the scenario that was present even before DevOps came into existence. How DevOps is actually automating the entire process and trying to increase the productivity. So that's the agenda for today. And okay, so talking about my background, I have done ECE electronics and communication engineering, and I have worked in this domain for almost 3 years. So after working in this domain, I was like, okay, fine. So I wasn't happy with the job role that I was performing, and I wanted to explore a different career. So for that, then I started searching about different career options in IT. So I'll tell you frankly that till that time, like when I was working in EC, I had never heard the word DevOps in my entire life. That was the first time I even got to know, okay, DevOps, there is something like DevOps actually existing in this world. So when I started searching in Google, like for sure everyone will search in Google what DevOps is, I got to know, okay, fine, many things are there. So then I thought, okay, anyhow, I'm not at all satisfied with the work that I'm doing. Let me explore a different career. So that was the first time when I got introduced to DevOps, and I took a course, online course, and I started like exploring the basics and everything. So it was of about 3 to 4 months duration DevOps course I took. So after doing that DevOps course, I was like introduced to what DevOps is and what are the problems it is trying to solve. And like I'll tell you one thing, like every person, when we change our career path, like some, like we will be, okay, will I get a job, how will I ever succeed or not, like will I get that required salary that I am thinking in my mind. So we have that pressure and that kind of thinking in our mind. Everyone will go through that phase in our life. So I was also thinking the same. Even my case was that I quit my job, and I was like, no salary, nothing, anything. I was just sitting at home learning everything. So when I started learning, I know that I want to go into DevOps domain, but I had no idea like why am I doing DevOps, what is DevOps, why people are so much talking about this DevOps buzzword, what it is trying to solve. So then I thought, okay, let me take one step back and try to understand what are the problems that were faced earlier and DevOps is trying to solve it. Because each, I can say, like every IT company is trying to like trying to use this DevOps concept and trying to implement DevOps. So that was the first thing, like when I started to know, okay, what was the scenario earlier. So let us discuss that. What are the problems faced before even DevOps came into existence? And we all know that in a simple software development lifecycle, we have two main teams. One is the dev team, other one is the ops team. So dev team is the one who is like developers write the code, build it, and testing, everything happens. Then we have ops team, the operation team, who is responsible for the monitoring and operation, who is more about the infrastructure and the on the production side of the team. So when there was no DevOps, earlier scenario was that dev team used to think like, oh, I don't know about anything prod environment. We're not sure will it work there or not. So they had no idea. Similarly, ops team was also thinking the same thing. So both of these two teams were like working individually. They had no communication, they had no collaboration. So this is a gap that people working in these two teams had, and DevOps is something that is trying to like bridge that gap, trying to fill that gap by bringing the DevOps concept and trying to automate the process. That's what DevOps is all about. Okay, so these are the problems. You can say, like, since I said that both the teams were working individually and they were not even communicating and collaborating, because of these things, there were many problems. Problems like blame game. So, what is blame game actually? From the word, you can understand that two people are shouting at each other. But actually, what was happening is dev team used to write the code and build it and testing everything. So once it is done, they will hand it over to the ops team. So when the code has been handed over to the ops team, what does ops team will say? For some reason, the code doesn't work in their environment. So they will tell that, oh, why is it not working? The code is written by developer, so it might be some issue with them. So they will get back to the developer, tell them there is some issue in the code, please fix it. Developers, on the other hand, have already moved on to some other projects. Okay, they have to come back, think, okay, why is it not working? But the code will work seamlessly in their environment. Then developer team will blame them. So this is a kind of blame game goes on. So we cannot even blame a single person. So it works in their environment. Sometimes it doesn't work in ops environment. That's what a blame game is all about. Second thing is that we conquer about, like, we can see these unpredictable issues. The reason is that before DevOps came into existence, there was waterfall model that was followed. What is waterfall model? Waterfall model was like we gather the information from the client or from the customer for whom we are building the project. So we gather the information, we note down so and so thing we have to perform. We have all our features. Okay, we have to deliver this. But in some cases, like in the waterfall model, what happens is there is no feedback, there is no looking back. Once we decide what we want to do, we'll just keep on moving. So what happens in that time is that till the code reaches to the test, there are a lot of unpredictable issues rising, and that becomes like a pressure on the developer, like, because they take such a long span of time to develop the code, and all of a sudden there are like hundreds and thousands of issues coming. How we can fix that? That is what called as unpredictable issues that arises. Then we have release and deploy mismatch. What is release and deploy mismatch? So we decide to deliver some what we can say some code, but the deploy and the release doesn't match at all because there is no testing, there is no building, nothing happens at an earlier stage. There is no feedback also, because of which what happens is that we think, okay, this might work, but that doesn't happen. So that is what a release and deploy mismatch happens. Lack of monitoring and feedback. There was back in those days when we used to follow the waterfall model, what was happening is that once the code is ready, the developer will hand it over to the testing team or deploy team. Done. They are not responsible after that step. So their task is done, they'll move on to some other project, they'll move on to working on some other code. So that is a called lack of monitoring and feedback. So there was no communication between these two things. So in order to solve these issues that you saw, then DevOps came into existence. So DevOps is one solution for all. So actually, one thing I want to say that I like images a lot. So since I usually feel bored when I see like just written lines and presentation work. So that's why I have added images. Hope you like these things. Okay. So DevOps is what a one solution for all. It's like integrating both dev, QA, ops, everything together is what DevOps. So what is DevOps? Okay. Uh, just want to confirm. Uh, I think my camera is not on. Okay, anyone can confirm that my camera, like, am I visible? Hmm, okay, let me share it again. Can anyone see my presentation? Can anyone please confirm in the comments? Let me know if the presentation is visible. Just comment yes or plus sign. Oh, thank you, Deepak. Okay, let me go back to my screen. Okay, sorry for that. It might be some issue from my side that my screen is not visible. Okay, let me start with the agenda again. Okay, so in today's agenda, what I'm gonna talk is about my background, and I'll talk about what DevOps is, why even DevOps came into existence, then DevOps workflow, DevOps skill set, concepts, and what are the problems that existed even before DevOps came into existence. So we'll discuss all those things. Also, we'll talk about the skill set, like what are the things that you need to learn in order to even land a job in DevOps domain. So I'll share those things with you all. Okay. Okay. So if you have any questions or if you have any doubts, you can just drop that in the comment section. I'll try to answer as much as possible. Okay, thank you. Fine. Let me go back and present it again. Hmm. Okay, so talking about my background, I have done ECE, electronics and communication, and I have worked in this domain for almost, I think, 3 years. So when I was working in this domain, I wasn't like satisfied with the job role or the things that I was performing there. And then I thought, okay, fine, I need to change my career. So then I started exploring different things, and like, okay, let me find something in IT domain, because like IT domain is like people talk a lot about it. So then when I started exploring, I got to know about DevOps. So DevOps, I can tell you that I had never heard the word DevOps before that. So when I got to know about DevOps, I started searching in Google. Okay, fine, what DevOps is. I thought, okay, fine, this is something fascinating, this is something new. And there was a lot of like what you can say, a lot of jobs, or you can say this DevOps was like a buzzword at that time. And I thought, okay, fine, this is something that I need to learn, and I need to like try to get a job in this domain. So then I decided, one fine day I decided to quit my job, and I took an online course, and there I started my DevOps journey. So it was a DevOps course that I took, and it was almost about 3 to 4 months duration. Yeah, it was tough, because since I'm coming from a non IT background, it was really tough. But yes, so I just want to tell that if I, being from a non IT background, can like learn DevOps and grab a job in that domain, then anybody can do that. Anybody who is system admin, anybody who is from working as a testing, or anyone who has done MBA, anything, or even a fresher can do that. It's just that we have to be disciplined, and start focusing on the things. So that's what I want to say. And okay, before going to problems faced before DevOps, let me see if anyone has any questions. Okay, Aman is saying that screen is not visible. So is it visible? Can anyone please drop a comment again? Thank you. Let me go back and present. Okay. So when I got to know about DevOps, right, I know that I want to learn DevOps and get a job in that role. But I never knew that, like, what were the problems that exist before, because of which DevOps has become so much famous and it's trying to solve those issues. So then I thought, okay, let me take one step back and let me try to understand what were the problems that were faced earlier. So, in a simple software development life cycle, we have two main teams. One is the dev team, other one is the ops team. So, what is a dev team? So, in dev team, we have developers who write the code, build the code, and in the ops team, we have the operation side who takes care of infrastructure and monitoring one. So, that's what these two teams are. So, earlier when DevOps was like not even existing, what was happening? These two teams were working individually. There was a big gap between these two teams. They never communicated, they never collaborated with each other. They worked separately. So what was happening? Dev team was like always in a confusion kind of mode, like, okay, I do not know anything about the prod environment. They had this hope in their mind, okay, fine, I hope that it will work. Same scenario with the ops team. They were also confused, like, we don't know what code they have written, we don't know whether it will work in our environment or not. So that was the scenario before DevOps came into existence. So because of these reasons, there were many problems. Problems like blame game, unpredictable issues, release and deploy mismatch, lack of monitoring and feedback. So let's understand these issues. What is a blame game? So blame game is like like we have developers who write the code, they hand it over to the ops team. So when they hand it over to the ops team blames to the dev team that, oh, the code is not at all working in my environment. Some issue with your code, please fix it and give us the updated code. Dev team, on the other hand, thinks that it's perfectly working fine in my environment. I don't know what is the issue. So it's a kind of blame game that goes on, and we cannot blame anyone also in that case. So these were the issues. Then we have unpredictable issues. Unpredictable issues means what happens, like earlier we had waterfall model that was followed even before DevOps. Waterfall model was there. Waterfall model is a model in which there was no feedback, no testing until the code has been actually, like, entire code should be completed. The first thing happens was that they will gather the information, everything is gathered, and then the developer will start on coding. Once the coding is done, they just, like, you can say, dump it to the testing team, and done, their task is done. So because of this, always there will be unpredictable issues. We never know what is this, because we do not know. We have written hundreds and thousands of lines of code, and which line is causing the issue, we never know. So that's what this issue is all about. And because of these issues, release and deploy never matches. It's like a mismatch always happens. And there were no feedback taken from the customers, like for whom we are developing the products. We are never taking the feedback, and there was no monitoring been done. So all these issues were faced. So in order to solve these issues, DevOps came into existence. So DevOps is like one solution for all, start from the planning till the release into the production environment or final deploy to the production environment. So DevOps is something that doesn't concentrate on only one team like dev team. It makes sure that dev and ops, both of them are having issue free, both of them, the processes in both of the teams are automated, both of them are communicating and collaborating. It's like dev plus ops plus QA is equal to DevOps. That's what DevOps is all about. Okay, so let me just see if anyone has some questions or anything. I'll just, okay, I can see few questions. Which DevOps platform to learn DevOps? Okay, so there are many platform, you know. Platform, you mean, are you asking about the cloud providers, or are you asking about some resources? Can you please specify that? And okay, salary between Java developer and versus DevOps. Okay, salary, I'm not sure how is it for the Java developers, and it depends upon the company that you're working. Okay, and which online platform is best to learn DevOps? Okay, there are many online platforms available. Okay, so Geeks4Geeks is one I can say, because when I started searching about DevOps or anything, or even starting from testing anything I wanted to search, something that comes pop-ups first is Geeks4Geeks, and then we have Mumshat, who talks about Docker and Kubernetes. Those things is very good in his tutorials, or you can say in his YouTube channels. And we also have Tech with Nana. You can watch her YouTube videos. It's pretty easy. It's like very clean explanation. And finally, you can come to my YouTube channel, where I have recently started talking about things that you need to learn related to DevOps, Docker, Kubernetes, DevOps tools, and many more. So let's go back to the presentation and I'll answer more questions in between. Okay, going to the next slide. Okay, what is DevOps? You know, when I decided that I want to learn DevOps, right? So the first thing I did was I went into Google, searched what is DevOps. It was hell lot of information available there. DevOps is this, DevOps is that, lot of information. I understood what the sentence they are telling, like theory kind of thing, I understood. But that thing that we get in our mind, right? Practical. Okay, I understood theory this means, but how will I implement this? That was missing in my mind. So as per my understanding, or I can say as per my practical that I'm working right now, I want to sum up it in a simple words, as simple as that. So DevOps is not a goal, but a never ending process of continuous improvement. I'll tell you one thing, like in my day to day activity that I perform, like when I'm working in one of a project right now. So our day to day activity is like we want to improve the things. So we work on features. If there are some issues, or if there are something, we keep on taking the feedbacks, and we keep on assigning the bugs. So if there is some issue, we assign it as a ticket, and we continuously work on improving it as much as possible. The second point is DevOps is all about automating the process. Yeah, this is true, because when I was working in one of the project, like it was Azure project, and we were trying to automate the things. We were trying to write the scripts, sometimes similar smaller scripts to automate, and we were trying to call those scripts through our YAML file in our Azure pipelines, build and release pipeline. So from the practical that I'm doing, I am able to relate it with these things. So, and the other point is implementing the best practices with the help of tools. Okay, so we know that DevOps, like whenever we think about getting a job in DevOps, right, first thing comes in our mind is, okay, I want to learn DevOps tool first, I want to learn DevOps tool. No, learning DevOps tool is important, but understanding the concept, DevOps concept, is equally important. So I'll come to these things in the next slide, so that it will be very easy for you to understand. So, this is my simple understanding about DevOps, what I do in my day to day activity. Okay, what does DevOps do? It tries to integrate dev team and ops team. Yes, it actually tries to fill up the gap between them. automating the workflow, everything starting from planning, coding, testing, monitoring, deploy, everything till the end of the phase. We urge to do the automation as much as possible and remove the manual intervention. Collaborate. So what happens, like, collaborate is a very simple word. We see collaborate, okay, collaboration, everyone will understand that. But actually when it comes in the implementation, right, it becomes little bit tough, because we have to collaborate. Dev team and ops team needs to collaborate, try to understand each other issues, and then need to come up with one solution. That's what it will consume less time and increase our productivity. And DevOps focuses on everything. Dev team, ops team start from the planning till the end. It focuses on entire complete product life cycle. So that is what DevOps is all about. Okay, before going to these starting points, let me go back and just see the questions. Okay, can you share the procedure for learning? Sure, I'll be sharing that, and even I'll be talking that, like, the points that we need to learn. And okay, is networking domain relevant for DevOps? Yes, network is, you can say, a part of it, but you cannot say that it's the main factor. Yes, networking is equally important in that. Resources, for sure. I'll be sharing the resources at the end. And fine. Let us go back to our presentation. Okay. Okay, starting point. This is very much important. And when a fresher, or when a non person who is from a non IT background, or anyone decides to change their career and thinks, okay, let me take some other career path, the first thing what we do is we search hell lot of information in Google, and we were like, okay, I'll do this, I'll study these DevOps tools, I'll study these things, everything we'll study. We'll keep on circling, and after 2 3 days we'll come back to the same point. Okay, where am I landed right now? I had done the same thing. So from my experience, I have noted down these points. Like, these are the points that I feel that if you know these things beforehand, it would be very easy for you to even like kickstart your career in DevOps. So the first and the foremost thing important is understanding the DevOps concept. I'll tell you one mistake what I had done. Since I didn't had any job, I took the risk of quitting my job. Only one thing was hitting my mind: I want to get a job, I want to get a job, no matter how, I want to get that. But in that thing I made a mistake, that I was like very fast, okay, I want to learn these things, but I forgot, like, I need to understand the concept first. Understanding the tools is important, but understanding the DevOps concept is very much important. So I'll tell you that, you know we have various DevOps concepts like version control, continuous integration, continuous deployment. Then we have a containerization, orchestration. All these are different concepts. If you know concepts, if you understand the concept, it will be easy for you to integrate it with the particular tool. Why? I'll tell you. Once you land a job in DevOps domain, you will come up, like, there will be a scenario in your job. You'll come up to that scenario, some or the other point you'll have that scenario where you have to decide, okay, for my project, which tool I need to use. Okay, I need to implement version control here. So which tool I need to use? You cannot just go randomly and pick any tool. Okay, you need to understand the requirements, and then you need to pick a particular tool that is best suited for your project. That's when concept comes into the picture, and it's very important. So always make sure that you understand the concept first, DevOps concept, and then go to learn the DevOps tools. Then is the second thing is learn Linux basics and scripting. So I'll tell you one thing. When I started my this you can say the DevOps course, right? So the first day of the course and the second day of the course, people started using little Linux commands. Okay, this grep command, the cd command, and I, being from a non-IT background, in my college where I've done ECE, I only knew C and C++. That's it. And I was like very confused. Okay, they are running so much command. What should I do? So then I started, okay, they are running these commands, I need to learn Linux basics because that's very important. So I can tell you, in my day to day activity, I use these Linux basics every day. Every single day I have to use it. So it's not mandatory that you need to be a pro in this. No, it's not required that you need to be a pro, but you need to have certain basic level of understanding so that it will be very easy for you to fast track your DevOps learning. Okay. Then programming language. So as I said, I had no idea about any programming language. And I'll tell you the challenges that I faced. I'll give you one of my scenario that as I said, that I was working in one of my project. Okay. And that project was Azure. And I was informed to create CI/CD pipeline. So I went to the official documentation, everything, and anyhow I got an idea, and I did some practices, and I was able to create CI/CD pipeline. We have the developer team wrote the code, they pushed it to some of the Git repository, and I had to fetch that code from there and run my CI/CD pipeline. I was able to manage that also and create my first ever CI/CD pipeline. Okay. But what happened at the end? As like for sure, the pipeline failed. And I was in like a scenario like, I don't know why my pipeline is failing. I was not able to identify, is it because of the code that developers have written, or is it because the way I have like created my Azure pipeline. So that was the scenario where I like used a lot of time. I consumed a lot of time in understanding the issue itself. Okay, this was a real challenge that I faced in my DevOps journey. So then I thought, okay, fine, let me go back to the developer and try to take some help from him. That's the time when I got to know that there was some values that was missing, and it was at the code issue. He fixed the code and my pipeline was successful, and I was happy at that time. At that time, I one thought came in my mind that, okay, if I would have had some idea about any programming language, I could have actually figured it out, and actually I could have gone to the developer, and like the time, there was no wastage of time. So you can start with any programming language. There is Ruby, there is Python, there is Go. And I would suggest that you can start with Python, because that is easy. You can tell that is easy, and there are plenty of YouTube videos available. You just go start learning that. It's as simple as that. You can just start learning that language. Then we have communication and collaboration. So this point is very important. The reason is that, okay, DevOps domain is something where communication is very important, where dev team will communicate with ops will communicate with QA, so on. It keeps on circling. So if you're not good in communication and collaboration, it is difficult to survive in DevOps world. Okay, initially I also faced those issues. Okay, because I was thinking, okay, should I ask this question or not? Okay, will he take it in a wrong way or not? So all these things kept going on in my mind. Then I thought, okay, leave it. I'll ask as much as questions, because at the end we want to deliver the product at any cost to the customer. Customers are more are like the main thing, because we want to deliver the product to them in a given time span. And last but not the least, self study. Self study is like very important. It sounds very simple, but yeah, it's important. So in my DevOps journey, I was, as I said, that I was going to the tutorials, right? Even I took a course. I used to study in that course, and then I used to do my self study. Go to the YouTube channel. There are plenty of YouTubes available. Just go through that. Keep on learning. So that's what, these are the starting points. I think this will be helpful, and hope these points will like give you a good career boost or career start in for you. So let me go back and just have a look for some questions if they have. Okay, someone has written, Aman, is DevOps works with Java programming? Yeah, it depends upon the project that you're working. It depends upon the company in your work, the company in which you're working. Because if there are preference that the company wants to use Java, then for sure, yes, Java will be there. But it's not mandatory that you need to be a pro in Java or something. No, that's not mandatory. You need to have some basic understanding, because developer will write the entire code. But when it comes to doing the DevOps, you have to understand, like little bit you have to understand, like okay, what is this happening, where is it failing. That is the situation where it will be helpful for you. So let me go back to the presentation and mm. So this is a simple software release process that we see. The process starts with gathering the ideas and then deciding the plan. Okay, we will do so and so. These are the features that we need to develop. Then we have developer who write the codes. Then we do the testing, and finally we package it and deploy it. And finally we have the monitoring and operate. Because after deploying the code, we need to have certain team where they monitor it, right? So that's what it's all about. A simple process, software development lifecycle process. Coming to the concepts, as I said, that concepts are very important, right? So we have first concept I want to talk is version control, because this concept you will be using in your day to day activity once you land in the DevOps domain. What is version control? Version control allows you to take the snapshot of your project. Okay, it allows multiple users to manage multiple revisions of the same unit of information. So that's what version control is all about. So one of the code repository example is the GitHub repository, where the developer write the code and pushes the code. It's a kind of GitHub repository. And version control, you need to be familiar with this command like git add, git commit, git rebase. Then there are many, git init, git pull, git push. These are like commands you will be like using it every day. You will be using it every day for sure, because I'm using it every day. So make sure that you are very good in this version control tool. Okay, so coming to the cloud providers, there are these are the three main cloud providers. We have AWS, we have Azure, we have GCP. Okay, so I like on my YouTube channel, I have got many questions like which is the best cloud provider tool I need to learn. There is no such best cloud provider tool. All of these are best in their own domain. Like all of these you have the same concept. It's just the naming is different. So you need to learn. You can start with any of this. So I started with Azure because when I joined the company, they were using Azure. So I had to learn Azure. So there is no such hard and fast like I need to learn AWS or GCP. You can start with anyone. You can just go to their official documentation and there will be a simple getting started. Okay, you just go sign up and get started. And I can tell you that like Azure is, I have since I've used Azure, I can tell you that you just need to go dev.azure.com, go there, sign up, and that's easy. Once you sign up, it's done. You can just create your pipelines and everything. It's that easy as possible. So I can recommend that you can start with Azure. Okay, let me go back and see if anyone has some questions. Okay, fine. Let me go back to my presentation. Okay. Okay, then we have this container concept, like which whenever we hear this word container, the first thing that comes into our mind is Docker. Okay, so Docker, in simple term, we can say that build, ship, and run your application seamlessly in any environment. Initially, in my slide, I was talking about this blame game, right? People used to say that the code is not at all working in my environment. No, it's your issue. So, Docker is something where you can package your application with all its dependencies and libraries, everything packed together in a single unit. Because of which you have packed everything in a single unit, it will run seamlessly in any environment, whether it is your prod environment, QA environment, development environment, any environment. It will run easily as it is. And I would like to tell one thing that Docker is like, you can say, very important in DevOps. You need to have basic understanding of this Docker, because that is what most of the companies are actually like asking in your interviews or recommending. Because nowadays each and every application we are packaging it, right? Packaging it and deploying it, packaging it and deploying it. That's what every application is doing, because it is consuming less space, it is much faster, and more productivity, less time is consumed. So it's like very important nowadays. Okay, so next we have container orchestration. If you have one Docker container, it is easy to manage. If you have two Docker containers, it is okay, fine, I'll manage it. So when you started a simple startup, or you can say you started a simple project where you have 10 people or 12 people, then also it's easy to manage. But as much as the people, the teams keep on increasing, your project keep on increasing, your containers will keep on increase from 10 to 20 to 100 to 200, even 500. That time it becomes very difficult for you to, what we can say, for you to even manage those containers. That time what comes into play is container orchestration, that is Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is also very important. I'm using Kubernetes and it's very important. Okay, so but in order to learn Kubernetes, you need to have a good knowledge about Docker. So I would recommend that start with Docker and then go to Kubernetes tool. Fine. Now comes the main thing, CI/CD pipeline. Okay, let me go back and check if someone has any questions before starting this. Okay, fine. So let me go back again and present my screen. CI/CD pipeline. CI/CD pipeline is considered the heart of DevOps. Everything will revolve around this. You will write YAML pipelines. You will write the code. You will create custom pipelines for the for your project, for your code, and then you deploy it. So how it is: continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous deployment. We talk about, oh, CI/CD tool we need to learn, CI/CD tool we need to learn. Why is it so much important? The reason is that the actual business value comes from CI/CD. So continuous integration is, the developer will write the code, it will be pushed to the source code like GitHub, building will be done, testing will be done. So this is like an automation that has been done. Once you push your code, it's done. Continuous delivery and deployment. So the main difference between continuous delivery and continuous deployment is that continuous delivery will have a manual intervention, whereas continuous deployment, no intervention, no manual intervention, everything will be automated. Manual intervention in continuous delivery will be like, take an example that you have written some code, you have pushed it in your GitHub repository, building is done, testing is done, pipeline is created, everything is done. The only thing is pending, that you have to push your code to the production environment or release environment. There you can add the manual intervention, like once you create the pull request, you need to get an approval from your product manager before the code is being pushed to the deploy. That is a kind of manual intervention that happens. So this is an example that continuous delivery can take. Okay, so talking about CI/CD pipeline, CI/CD tools, there are plenty of CI/CD tools available. We have Jenkins, Circle CI, Drone, GitHub Action, Travis, Azure Pipeline, plenty of there. We have Harness also. So I started with Jenkins, then I moved on to Azure Pipelines. So slowly I am moving to Concourse, Harness, GitHub Actions. So I have used these many tools. I can recommend you that you can start with Jenkins. You can even start with Azure Pipelines because that is easy to sign up, and I've used those things. So just you can just go sign up and create your own simple Hello World pipeline. It's as easy as that. Coming to infrastructure as code. So DevOps with infrastructure as code. Infrastructure as code is a way to define your resource in a declarative manner, and everything packed together in a single configuration, which we term it as a configuration file. So like we have Terraform. Okay, Terraform is also one such example. And each and every cloud providers that we have, like GCP, Azure, and AWS, they have their own infrastructure as code. Like GCP is having Google Deployment Manager, Azure is having Azure Resource Manager, and Cloud Formation is also there. So this is kind of infrastructure as code. It's already there. What it means is that you will write a number of lines of code, package it as a configuration file, and you can deploy it, and you can even pass it on to your team members so that you don't have to write it again. It's like a sample of code template has been written, and you can keep on using it rather than writing it again and again, right? That's what infrastructure as code is all about. Okay, so that's the end of the slide. And there is one more thing I want to say, that proper data analytics, okay, and this code management. Nowadays, companies are adapting these tools like Grafana, Prometheus. What are these Grafana and Prometheus? So what it does is actually it monitors your cluster. When you talk about Kubernetes, right, Kubernetes is having clusters and there are number of pods running in it, number of application running in it. If some of the server goes down because of the size issue, or some of the pods goes down because of some issues or application, what happens? It's a kind of dashboard where you can view your information, like, is it because of the size issue, there is lot of space being consumed, there is lot of memory being consumed. It's kind of graphs where you can just go it, log in and just see it. So nowadays companies are adapting to that because it is very useful. So you can have an idea about those tools also. So that's the end of the slide. And let me see if anyone is having questions. Okay. Is DevOps a high or a low paying job? As I can say that DevOps, you cannot say that it's a low paying job. DevOps, you must have also heard that DevOps is actually booming a lot and there are a lot of opportunity. The only thing is that you cannot the only thing I can say, that we have this thing in our mind that, okay, I want to get a job in DevOps and I will expertise in one of the tool and I'll get land a job. No, it's not easy. Learning DevOps is tough, I can say, because you need to be an all rounder. You need to have little knowledge in each of these tools, because in your everyday activity you will not just work on a simple Docker. You'll start with Git, you'll start with GitHub repository, you will create CI/CD pipeline, everything is involved. Because of which companies expect DevOps to be a high pay, because you have to have that much of information. And someone has written, okay, is coding required for DevOps? Coding is not mandatory, but I recommend to have a basic knowledge of coding. As I said that uh, developers will write the code, and in order to identify the issues, is it because of the pipelines you have created, or is it because of the coding that developers have written? Coding is equally important. I'm not telling that you need to have a lot of coding knowledge, you need to learn every coding that is available. No, understand any one, start with Python, is as simple as that. Okay. In Jenkins, do we need to understand build tools like Maven and Gradle? See, not only in Jenkins, but when you start using any other tools also, yes, these things will be circling around. You will come across these things and you will have to actually work. But as I said earlier, that you don't have to be pro in this. Just understand this basic, that will be helpful for you. Okay. What is pipeline? Okay, someone has written, Ayush, can you explain what is pipeline in simple word? I'm new to this. Sure. So what is pipeline? I can say that when you think about any project, or you can say when you start working in any project, right? The first stage will be planning, gathering the information. And in any project, your main goal will be, I want to deliver this product or this feature to a customer. Whoever is your customer, you have to deliver it. That's the final goal you will be working in any company. So in order to deliver that, we'll create pipelines. We'll not use the manual intervention, we'll make use of pipelines. So what is pipeline is like, it will actually fetch your code from the GitHub repository or wherever you have stored your codes. It will fetch from there, and according to the steps that you have mentioned in your pipeline, it will perform one after the other, one after the other. And finally, if it is successful, everything will be delivered to the production environment. And if you can just go through the website, or you have whichever IP address you have given, just hit it and just you will see the what you can say, the output of the product. Okay, that's what a simple pipeline is all about. And it's not simple, but you can say it's the main heart of DevOps. So I hope I have answered your question. And okay, work life balance between DevOps engineer and SD. Okay. um Work life balance, okay. When I started my DevOps journey, I can say work life balance was like, oh, not too good, I'll be frank with you. Initially, because I had to learn a lot, I was like, okay, people were like people who were working in IT domain, right? They had little bit understanding, and I was the one who was lacking behind. No knowledge of IT domain, anything. Coming from a non IT background, I had to give double of my efforts to understand. But I can tell you, once you do give that double efforts, right? Like first 2 years or first 1 year, yeah, you have to work little bit harder, but later on you will be like very good in that. That I can tell you a lot. Okay. Okay. Someone has written, ma'am, what qualification or certification are required to pursue a career in DevOps? Okay. So, mm certification, I can say it's important also and not important also, because people who are having a good who are coming from an IT domain, they can go through YouTube and do it. But for me, certification was important because I didn't had any like any idea about DevOps. So I took the course, and I had, because that course actually helped me to give me some idea. Yes, certification are important. You can if you're a new person, you can start with DevOps certification. There are plenty of online course available where you can just enroll yourself and start working. how much ex- how much experience you hold? So I have 4 years of experience in this DevOps domain. And thank you, ma'am, for answering my question. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Which is better, data science or DevOps? See, I don't know much about data science, but as much I've worked in DevOps, right? I'll tell you one thing. In DevOps, you will every day you'll come up to new thing, because every day a new issue will come. You'll get a chance to learn that. You'll get a chance, okay, this is something new, I want to solve this, I want to like figure it out. And once you figure it out now, you will be like, oh, fine, I have done this. So it's like DevOps. From my perspective, I can say that if I was asked which stream you want to go, I would surely pick DevOps. It depends upon perspective of the people who are good, who want to go in data science or DevOps, but I prefer DevOps. Okay. So that's it. And you can contact me on my YouTube channel and on LinkedIn. If you have any issues or any doubts, you can let me know. I would be happy to answer, and I hope you this session was useful for you all. So thank you so much. Thanks a lot.